Hello everyone, Richard Owen here from Supercars.net, and today we are going to review the 911s from the 2013 Amelia Island Concours d'Elegance. Celebrating the 50th anniversary of the 911, Amelia had some of the very best cars present, including the oldest surviving 911 and the 1979 outright Le Mans winner. But first, I have to mention a couple words about the show. This is the 18th annual concours held every March at Amelia Island, Florida. Founder Bill Warner, along with his capable team and the many volunteers, run the event as a charity that benefits the Community Hospice of Northeast Florida. It's this contribution that attracts some of the best people and cars in the world. Take for instance this 911. It is the oldest Porsche 911 in existence. Built on chassis 13327, it's from the first batch of 4 pre-production prototypes and is the only surviving copy. At the factory, this car got the nickname Barbarossa, and it was used both as a prototype and a show car. It was also used to test various components, which explains the holes and patches throughout the car. Special features specific to this prototype include gauges likely sourced from a BMW. Many developments from this prototype shaped the final 911 specification, including the heating system, sliding sunroof, hood hinges, fuel tank, door sills, and seat frames. Here's our friend Massimo kindly getting out of the way for a final look at the 901 prototype. Building from these prototypes, Porsche went into regular production by 1964. They also renamed their 901 into the 911 for regular production. And here is a great example of an early production short wheelbase 911. It's a 1965 car in the splendid color scheme of light ivory white with red interior. Inside is a full bevy of instrumentation flanked by a wooden wheel and a wooden dashboard. This car, chassis 300508, is essentially the 508th car built and was one of the first street cars delivered to Brumos Porsche. 508 spent most of its life in Aruba, where the current owner purchased it and had it restored by import services to new specification. The result was good enough for a class win at Amelia. This is a very unique 911 built on chassis 13433 in 1966. It was used by the factory as a test bed for competition upgrades. Somewhat unusual is the car's lightweight spec despite having a sunroof. As shown on the car's build sheet, this car has no undercoat and no sound deadening. One very cool feature of this car is the larger rear fenders, which were used later on the 911R race cars. This is probably the very first 911 to use flared rear fenders. Building on a lightweight chassis and larger fenders, 13433 was restored extensively in 2000 and fitted with many competition-style parts. This rare Porsche Targa might have the most documented mileage of any Porsche 911S. Called Bluebell, it was used by its first owner Jim Montgomery to retrieve over 600 bells from all over the world. During its journey, it racked up over 650,000 miles. But you wouldn't know that by looking at the car. Repainted Gemini Blue Metallic, it was restored by J. David Glenn over a 3-year period that brought it back to as new condition. At Amelia, that was good for a class victory in the 911 street class. Porsche stepped up their motorsports program in 1973 with the 911 Carrera RSR. The 911 racing class from Amelia had some of the very best RSRs, including many outright race winners. And here is one of the first factory competition RSRs, known as R6. It raced 10 times in 1973 and finished in the top 10 an impressive 7 times. At Amelia, it appears exactly as it did when Herbert Mueller and Gilles Van Lennep won the 1973 Targa Florio. This includes its spectacular Martini racing livery and unique rear spoiler. And here is the same car at the 1973 24 Hours of Le Mans. Driven by Reinhold Jost and Claude Haldy, the car did not finish with fuel problems. Here is its sister car wearing race number 46, which completed the distance to finish 4th overall. And here comes a very special 911. It was one of the very first to win a major race outright, that being the 1973 Sebring 12 Hours. The The All-American team of Peter Gregg, Hurley Haywood, and owner Dave Helmick won ahead of a similar RSR, which was only one lap down. In 2000, this car was extensively restored by Gunner Racing back to its original number 59 race-winning livery. The process took 2 years and included remaking the 1973 fender flares from steel. No part of the car was left untouched, and it was finished exactly how it looked before it ran Sebring in 1973. Here comes one of the most interesting RSRs. It's the second of 4 cars made by the factory for the 1974 World Sports Car Championship. Its evocative Martini and Rossi livery signified it as a factory competition car from Porsche. These were the first turbocharged 911 race cars that came from Porsche and laid the foundations for the 911 Turbo. Limited to just 2.14 liters, Porsche fitted a massive KKK turbocharger that offered 450 horsepower at 8,000 RPM. Just have a listen to this engine. As a result of this turbocharging, the Carrera Turbo could lap Le Mans 11 seconds faster than the standard 3.0 liter RSR. On the track, these cars ran in the same group as the Prototypes, alongside the Matra Simca, Golf Mirage GR7, and Alfa Romeo 33. Among this tough company, the Turbo Carreras still achieved a couple notable second places, including the 24 Hours of Le Mans and 6 Hours of Watkins Glen. In 1974, Porsche also supported the inaugural International Race of Champions, better known as IROC. Penske built 15 similar cars for the season, which equalized the celebrity field. The series consisted of 4 races at Daytona and Riverside. The car from Amelia was used by Formula One champion Emerson Fittipaldi, who put it on pole in Riverside. After its IROC duty, the car was continually raced up into the 1990s. Recently, Mecum Auctions described this car as possibly one of the finest IROC cars in existence. They sold it for $875,000 at the 2012 daytime auction in Monterey. Remarkably, after nearly 20 years of racing, it still retains its original high butterfly racing engine. Next, we move on to the 1977 Daytona 24-hour overall winner. In a David vs. Goliath story, Team Ecurie Escargot beat the competition with their 2-year-old RSR. They were up against the factory prototype Porsches, the Brumos Porsches, and the turbocharged Kremer Porsches, but still managed to win the event outright. Not surprisingly, the podium was filled with Porsches that year. Here it is nearing the end of Daytona with an AMC Gremlin in behind. As you would expect, the car has been totally restored back to its race-winning configuration as seen here at Amelia. This might be the most important 911 of all time. That's because it won the 1979 24 Hours of Le Mans for Porsche Kremer Racing. This was the first time a 911 based car won the famous race, which is typically dominated by sports prototypes. To achieve this, the winning car was modified heavily by Kremer. These had a completely reshaped profile and an 800 horsepower engine using 1.7 bars of turbo pressure. Here it is at Le Mans as driven by brothers Bill and Don Whittington together with Klaus Ludwig, who managed most of the driving in the rain. After the race, this K3 sat in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame Museum for nearly 30 years. It has been recently purchased by collector Bruce Meyer and given a mechanical restoration by Canepa Motorsports. At Amelia, the car looks exactly as it did when it won at Le Mans. Apparently, the judges at Amelia have good taste because Bruce Meyer was awarded Best in Class.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. It's a real privilege to be here. You know, Bill does such a great job of bringing us all together. This is like, you know, a supreme surprise for this car. It's still a winner after Le Mans 79.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for making the trip all the way from Beverly Hills, California. 911, Best in Class, ladies and gentlemen. The Porsche Kremer. 911 race car.
This concludes our coverage of the 911s at the 2013 Amelia Island Concours d'Elegance. Thanks for watching. Supercars.net. 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 Supercars.net.